What is going on, everybody? Back again today to give you guys kind of like a review, bit of a first impressions video on Amazon Prime Video's new epic high fantasy series, The Wheel of Time. This is based on a book series that has been around for a very long time. It has a huge following, but it is still that kind of like niche following. Like it has yet to be brought into the mainstream, similar to how like what A Song of Ice and Fire was prior to the Game of Thrones TV show. So, without further ado, let's check out the trailer just to give you guys a little bit of a visual idea of what we're talking about here, and then we'll get into my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of the show that have been released so far.
Swear your oath, Moraine Sedai.
I swear to speak no word that is not true, to make no weapon with which one person may kill another, and never to use the one power as a weapon.
Do you know what Aes Sedai means in the old tongue? Servants of all. It is they who serve the world.
I didn't choose this path, but I will follow it.
Where next?
The two rivers. The old blood runs deep in those mountains. Let's hope it's prepared them for what's coming. The Dark One is waking. But there will be one who can stand against him. And it's one of the 5 of you.
You fully lost your mind.
Your life isn't going to be what you thought.
Moraine.
What are those? His army is coming.
What can we do?
We protect the people we love, no matter the cost.
Our enemies are everywhere. They will leave no one standing.
We've lost too many people already. I can't lose you.
You won't. If we do not stop the Dark One now, the whole world will burn. I can't allow it. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
So that's a short look at the Wheel of Time series. So right now on Amazon Prime, the first 3 episodes are out, and we're going to be getting a new episode every Friday. I've watched all 3 episodes yesterday, and how do I feel about it? It's got promise, but there are some areas I think that it could be doing better. So first off, what I liked about it, so the story is intriguing. I'm engaged. It's been a while since a fantasy story has been able to get my attention engaged like this. I've been mostly into more sci-fi, either science fiction or like superhero comic book type stuff, but not outright high fantasy. Between what I know about the Song of Ice and Fire and Tolkien mythology and the Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth and all of that, and then also I read a number of R.A. Salvatore's Drizzt Do'Urden books from the Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms area. I had a lot of fantasy in my brain. And I remember when I was younger, in like middle school, like we're talking like ages like 11 to 14, I was really big into fantasy. In that time period, I absorbed so many fantasy stories, mostly young from like the young adult section of Barnes and Noble, but also I veered into the actual like high fantasy section a couple times. One of them was I actually picked up the first book in this series, which is called The Eye of the World, and I gave it a try. But it is not like some Harry Potter or Inheritance Cycle type. That's another one that I read. It's not some Harry Potter or Inheritance Cycle type of literature. Those are fantasy, but they're like young adult fantasy. That's not referring to how imaginative the fantasy content is. It's referring to the writing style. The Wheel of Time books they are they're adult fantasy literature. The writing style is a bit more mature. I'm not talking about content. I'm just talking about like to keep pace with and reading like a reading comprehension level. It's up there with like Tolkien and others, and A Song of Ice and Fire and stuff like that. So I never got very much into the books. I barely scraped the surface of the first book. And then I thought, you know what, with Tolkien and everything else, I've got enough fantasy. I don't need another universe. But this show has got me interested. Why? Well, I like that they seem to be really just. Amazon's plan with this seems to be we're not adapting a book. We are adapting the series. We are adapting the Wheel of Time, So they kind of go into it whole hog. They don't cut any corners. They immediately start dropping all these interesting names like Aes Sedai and Tavir and this lingo that only fans of the show would know. And they approach it with this very like, hey, you're either in this or you're not. They approach it like kind of toward to the audience, telling the audience like, look, this is going to be some hardcore, nerdy, high fantasy shit. You're either on board or you're not. And I kind of liked it because I was just kind of like, well, I pride myself in being a nerd. I don't want to not be on board with it. So I found myself like as I was watching the episodes, I had my iPad and I was Googling stuff on the Wheel of Time Wikia, trying to like, okay, Aes Sedai, what the hell are they? And then next thing you know, I'm getting more and more enamored with the lore. So I thought it did a pretty good job of presenting the world and the lore, even in just the first 3 episodes. It was enough to get me really interested in it, and I want to know more. Aesthetically, the show looks good, but this is where we're going to get into my first gripe about it. But before I shit on it, I want to talk about the positives. The CGI, well, that's not really a positive. It doesn't look bad. It looks good. It's fine to watch. It's pretty. That's for damn sure. It's almost a little too pretty. In that it's almost a little too colorful. When we think of medieval fantasy, we typically think of it being like the same as our own real world medieval times. It's just got the added magical races like elves or dwarves or orcs and dragons and giants, and then there's also magic. But it doesn't mean that everyone's walking around with beautifully colored, dyed tabards and tunics and cloaks and shit. Like everyone in this show, their outfits and everything is just so colorful, and it just kind of stood out. It's like, is that something that's supposed to help with the fantasy element? Because that's not really selling me on the medieval Middle Ages type vibe. Like they did. I guess it has to be part of the fantasy element because it's you'd want to ask yourself like, back in the day in our real world Middle Ages, we didn't have all this beautiful colored dye to make all this brilliantly colored shit. People wore pretty bland colored shit most of the time. A lot of tans and grays and black, whatever the fucking shit turned out to be when it was woven together, that's what you got, so like all this like really bright pretty color that just everyone has, it didn't exist. But you got to also take into account like in this world magic exists, so it's like, I don't know, maybe they can magically dye shit, I don't know, different color, magically make it different colors, I don't know. Just a lot of color, and it stood out to me as just like, I don't know, between all the color and all of the actors, with the exception of Rand's father, who is Roose Bolton from Game of Thrones, him, Rosamund Pike's character, and her soldier warder, who is bound to her to protect her, the Asian fellow, they are all like, everyone else is very young adult cast. Like, it's a lot of, I don't think they're actually teenagers, but it's a lot of like young adult looking CW type actors. They're all handsome and pretty, and they've got good good skin complexion and good like bone structure. They're all handsome and pretty looking people, and they're young. And between that and all the color, it almost gives it like, I was watching, like, I'm sitting here thinking, am I watching the highest budgeted CW show of all time? Like that's kind of what it felt like, because that also kind of brings me into the CGI. Um, here's what I think people don't understand. A lot of people in the film and TV industry about CGI is when it comes to good or bad CGI. The definition of that is where the line is for good or bad is if we can fucking tell that it's CGI. If I can look at, I don't care how fancy it seems, if I can look at it and go, that's CGI, that's CG fucking I, you failed. You failed at shitty CGI. If I can point it out and know that it is, it's shitty CGI. With the exception of like magical spell effects, because of course those have to be CGI. We don't actually have magic. But for instance, there's a part in one of the episodes pretty early on where this girl is floating down a river. Like it's part of like some trial or some shit. Where spoiler alert, I guess she has to like jump into the river, get pushed into the river, and like ride the current or whatever. And she's floating in the river, and the river is so fucking blue. This bitch is straight floating in Listerine. All right, like it's as blue as can be. They even do a close-up shot of it's like flowing over her face as she's floating down the river, and it is just so. It looks. Honestly, I wanted to drink the water. It is so blue and just beautiful, more color, like I said, but it was just so clearly not real that I just not real, shitty CGI because I can tell that it's CGI. That's the difference. There's also a point pretty early on where like one of the witches or whatever, the Aes Sedai magic user ladies, they trigger like a rock slide or like a mountain avalanche collapse or a bunch of rock comes tumbling down from this mountain pass or whatever. And as the rocks came falling down, I was like, that's CGI. You know, I shouldn't be able to point that out because we have real rock slides and avalanches and shit in the real world. That exists. So make it look like that. And if you can't, then you are a failure. You just suck. That's just the way it is. Like, if I can tell that it's CGI, it's bad CGI. However, there is one redeeming quality in this show when it comes to the CGI, and I feel like this is why it sucks in other areas. Pardon me. The Trollocs. The Trollocs are like the evil ogre, troll, orc-like race that you saw in the trailer. They've got the big horns coming out of their head, kind of like the pig snouts. They're called Trollocs. Trolloc. Trolloc. The CGI for those is top notch. Like, there's a couple scenes in these first 3 episodes where you see an army of Trollocs just all massed together, and they're all just kind of like standing there like husking and like huffing and panting and like moving their weapons and shit, like ready to fight. And it looks like a menacing threat. These just hulking monsters. Oh, they looked good. They did the Trollocs well. They looked really good. And you could also tell there were some moments when they just needed to do a close-up shot of a Trolloc not really fighting or running, just kind of like ominously standing there growling or maybe walking slowly. You could tell that there were a couple shots in there where they really just made a prosthetic costume and put a dude in it. But for any of the scenes where the Trolloc had to be like moving fast and aggressively, it's CGI. But it looks good, especially in those couple scenes where they are just massed together as an army and you get a good look at the whole army. Oh, that was kind of terrifying. They are genuine monsters. Holy shit. So maybe the other CGI is so noticeable simply because they were like, yo, if one thing's going to sell this show, it's going to be the threat, the enemy, these monsters. So they got to look dope. And they did. They made them look dope. And it kind of sold me on it. I'm being honest, like the first episode, I was about to call it quits. I was about to be like, yep, this is going to be one of those shows where I try the first episode and say, fuck it. But then, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, end of the first episode, the main character's home village just gets attacked by these Trollocs, and a giant battle ensues. And the minute I saw a Trolloc and I saw the army start to invade and attack, I was like, oh shit. Okay. Fuck yeah, let's see where this goes. And then I was in. I was fucking in. Yeah, so the story centers around these 4 young adult characters. They're young adults. They are. Well, one of them is married, but then again, it's also medieval times, so people are getting married younger. It's expected, I guess, you get married younger. I don't know. I want to say they all seem to be like in their early 20s. I wouldn't say. I'm not. I'm talking about their characters, not the real world actors. But I would guess that none of their characters are supposed to be older than 25. Like that would be a stretch. So they're all not young, not teenager young, but they are on the younger side, which is fine, I guess, if this is going to be a long running show that lasts like 10 plus seasons, maybe, then yeah, they're going to need. It's a good thing they hired younger actors and actresses. So these 4 characters, basically, this evil threat is returning to the world, and it's prophesized that this great, powerful battle mage type warrior will be reincarnated, and he will be reincarnated and reborn into the world to combat this dark threat that is emerging again. Sort of the plot of like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like the Avatar is always reincarnated. But in this case, there's 4 individuals, and they don't know. One of them is, they call it the dragon. One of them is the dragon reborn, this great heroic battle mage type warrior that is destined to defeat this great evil. We don't know which one it is, though. On that note, big spoiler here, big spoiler. So if you don't want to know this, if you have not read the books, you don't want to know this, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. The Dragon Reborn, I looked this up. The Dragon Reborn is supposed to be Rand. His name is Rand al'Thor. Rand al'Thor is supposed to be the Dragon Reborn, the big heroic champion of the light that's destined to defeat this great evil. Rand al'Thor is that red-haired kid you saw in the trailer. Now, in the day and age that we live in, where it's like, yo, straight, white, handsome men cannot be strong savior protagonists. It's got to be women or the minority. I am kind of sitting here going, because he's a straight white dude. He's got red hair. He's a ginger, but he's a straight white dude. And he's a straight white, strapping, handsome young man. So who knows how this is going to go. I'm sitting here going, are they going to stick with the source material on this one? Or are they going to try some left-wing agenda bullshit? Oh, man. And here's the thing. I said at the beginning of this video, this book series, The Wheel of Time, it has a huge following in the fantasy nerd community. The portion of the nerdy community in the world of the human race that loves high fantasy, there's a huge chunk of it that loves these books. It has not yet become like big mainstream in the same way that like Harry Potter or Game of Thrones or Marvel has, because it has yet to have a very high budget successful TV or movie series. That's what gets you mainstream these days. It's just a fact. So, but in terms of the portion of true fantasy, high fantasy loving nerds out there, Wheel of Time holds a special place in a lot of their hearts. And I'm telling you this right now, Amazon, if you go fucking with this shit, right now you have this brand new fucking show about this fantasy book series that only the diehard fans are going to be invested in right off the bat. Only them. You got people like me who are coming to it, and we're watching it, and we're kind of taking it as we go, but we're not committed. Your only committed fan base are the ones that read the fucking books. So if you start deviating from the books for some politically correct social justice bullshit agenda, you're going to piss them off, and your show is going to go your show is going to go down the fucking drain. So, I get it. He's a strapping, young, straight, handsome white dude, and he's meant to be the great savior of the light who's going to fight the darkness and save the world and defeat the evil. And I know that in this day and age, it's not supposed to be the handsome, strapping, young white guy. The handsome, strapping, straight, young white guy. It's supposed to be a woman or a person of a different ethnicity, or a woman of a different ethnicity, or a gay guy. It's supposed to be one of those fucking things. Nope. Nope. In this series, it is a straight, white, strapping, handsome young man. And you're going to have to just ride that out and go with it. And if you don't, you're going to fuck your whole series. Because this is a set down piece of series lore. Rand al'Thor is the Dragon Reborn. So don't fuck around. Just do it the way it is in the books. Maybe you were planning to anyway, but I just had to put that 2 cents out there. So, another area of the show that kind of seemed odd to me is a lack of real armor. I get it that the Trollocs are kind of this like barbarian, savage beastmen type race, so they don't really do. They have some like shoulder pauldrons. I saw them wearing, maybe some bracers. But they don't really do full armor. But there's even a part in one of these episodes where the companions, the 4 young ones, the 4 that one of which is the Dragon Reborn, it's Rand. They're traveling with I'm not gonna remember her name. They're traveling. Anyway, they're traveling with the Aes Sedai lady and her warder. And they come across this army that is like it's supposed to be like a good army, and they're keeping the land safe, so to speak. They're also kind of killing Aes Sedai as they go about it, and there's this really sadistic dude among them who enjoys killing Aes Sedai a lot. But this army that they come across, they're just wearing white robes. Some of them, once again, have like a metal shoulder pauldron and maybe some armor down that arm. Other than that, they're just wearing like white robes and tabards. And I'm like, where's the armor? But then again, I thought, you know what? Maybe that's where they had to cut another corner with the budget. Because they were like, we're going to have, between all the magic effects and the Trolloc army, the CGI is going to cost us so much money, we might have to just skimp out on armor and just try to do fancy, colorful outfits and hope that it gets by. I'm going to go ahead and tell you no. These people should be wearing fucking armor. Like, I don't care if it's hard leather armor. I don't care if it's plate armor. I don't care if it's chain armor. This robe shit has to go. These people should be, if they're soldiers, if they're warriors, and they all they have is their martial prowess with swords and axes and shit, and they have no magical power, they need to be wearing some fucking armor. I'm pretty sure in the books they wear armor. I'd be willing to bet money. I've never read them, but I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, better start seeing some armor on characters pretty quickly. Especially if they're supposed to be an army of soldiers. They should be wearing armor. I don't understand. I think it had to be a budget thing. But anyway, this show is showing a lot of promise. I'm almost a little like, holy fuck, I'm about to absorb another fictional universe into my brain. Like, there's not enough already in there. Like, holy shit. But anyway, that's all I do. That's my life. I absorb fake nonsense into my brain. Like, I'm a walking encyclopedia of information that is useless to pretty much everyone. Like, I could maybe win a nerdy trivia contest. That's about it. But like, with the amount of nerd information I know, if they were handing out PhDs in nerdiness, I could get one, but they're not. But overall, I know I've talked some shit on it, but overall I liked the 3 episodes that I saw, and I want to see more, and I will be watching more. So if you value my opinion at all, and you're watching this video still at this point, so I'm guessing you do, I do recommend you check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. First 3 episodes are up right now, and there's going to be a new episode out every Friday until the first season's over. So yeah. And I think the second season has already been renewed. Like I said at the beginning, it seems like Amazon is going into this whole hog. Like, we are adapting this whole fucking thing. We're doing it, which is good. It tells me that they have a plan. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Overall, though, so far, I'm liking it. I want to see more. So that's that. Let me know what you guys think. Any big fans of Wheel of Time, leave some comments below. If I got anything wrong, if I was confused by anything, leave some comments below. Get a discussion started. If you like this video, please hit the like button. That really helps out the channel. If you want to help out the channel even more, check out some of my other videos and maybe subscribe. But other than that, I will see you guys next time.